Imagine stepping into a helicopter and leaving behind the noise of cities and the slow compulsions of daily life. After hours above the endless ocean, a tiny dot appears on the horizon. It grows larger until turquoise water surrounds a strip of white sand palm trees. Rise like sentinels, and a gleaming house crowns the hilltop. This is not a resort open to booking sites. This is a private island owned by one of the wealthiest people on Earth. For most people, the idea of a summer house already feels like a distant privilege. For billionaires, houses are addresses on public maps. They choose islands. Spaces where land, sea, and sky are subject to private design and where privacy is enforced by geography as much as by security. Private islands represent a form of sovereignty. A yacht can cruise and a plane can fly, but both remain dependent on public infrastructure. An island allows control over access, water, and land in ways few other assets permit. It is a chance to design a world from blank space to finished estate. Many islands start as raw nature, then are reshaped by owners who hire planners, artists, and engineers to create a specific mood. White sand beaches are enhanced with imported coral or protected by artificial reefs. Forests are planted with selected species and ornamental gardens are carved into hillsides. Runways appear where none existed and marinas are excavated behind breakwaters that calm the sea. Beneath the visible surface, sophisticated systems run quietly. Desalination plants, power grids, treated water, and subterranean storage to support extended stays. Curiously, these islands are often empty. Caretakers live year-round, and maintenance teams keep systems running, while the owner visits rarely. Sometimes the island will see its owner twice a year. The logic is not constant habitation, but readiness. The estate must be able to convert from standby to full operation in hours. This requires staff who act like curators, engineers, and diplomats at once. Gardeners maintain lawns and coral technicians monitor reefs. Chefs rotate into place, and sommeliers ensure cellars hold bottles at precise temperatures. Pilots and captains coordinate arrivals and departures with military precision. When the owner arrives, the island becomes a stage 4 ritual. Helicopters land on private pads and luggage disappears into waiting hands. Suites are prepared with linens ironed to exact standards and menus are assembled from the best suppliers worldwide. Entertainment is bespoke. Musicians arrive with custom arrangements, chefs craft tasting menus tied to the island's season and lighting. Designers shape evenings to match the narrative of the visit. Nothing is left to chance. Secrecy is the most valuable commodity. In an era where cameras record movement and social feeds broadcast moments across time, an island promises a space free from public view. Here, billionaires negotiate deals that may shape industries, discuss philanthropic initiatives, and host cultural collaborations away from headlines. Relationships are deepened in privacy, and alliances are formed without microphones. Access is tightly controlled. Visitors undergo vetting background checks and non-disclosure agreements. Landings take place in private hangars or secluded coves, and arrival manifests are kept within closed circles. Security teams patrol waters with radar drones and discreet vessels. Biometric locks and surveillance linked to local authorities and to private security firms that operate internationally. An island may feel remote, yet it is densely networked with technology and people who ensure discretion. The economics are relentless. Salt air corrodes metal and electronics, storms adjust, shorelines and vegetation grows back with astonishing speed. Owners spend millions annually on upkeep, staffing, and logistics. Supply lines extend for hundreds of miles. Fuel parts and specialized food items travel by freighter or by helicopter. Insurance premiums for private islands read like treaties covering natural disaster, political risk, and liability. Ownership often brings obligations. Land rights must be negotiated with local governments and sometimes with indigenous communities. Construction permits, environmental assessments, and tax structures require legal teams and long-term commitments. Many buyers use trusts, holding companies, and complex structures to manage ownership, privacy, and tax exposure. These legal frameworks are as critical as the architecture itself. Environmental concerns loom large. Heavy modification can harm coral systems, mangroves, and native species. Conservationists warn about the cost of imported flora and fauna and about the disruption of local ecosystems. Some owners respond by funding conservation initiatives, creating marine protected areas, and supporting local research. Others are criticized for prioritizing aesthetics over ecology. The debate is unresolved and often contested on moral and scientific grounds. Certain islands become laboratories for innovation. Freed from dense regulation and public scrutiny, owners can trial renewable energy, microagriculture, and experimental infrastructure. Solar farms and battery arrays may provide models for off-grid living. Vertical farms and desalination innovation can be scaled into broader applications if proved successful. In this sense, islands sometimes function as incubators for technologies that later spread beyond private estates. Markets for islands are specialized and secretive. Brokers circulate confidential catalogs to vetted clients, and deals often involve complex international negotiation. Ownership transfers can prompt geopolitical scrutiny depending on the jurisdiction. Anonymous bids, trusts, and proxies are common. Regulators have begun to tighten rules, but opacity remains part of the market. The social value of owning territory often outweighs simple financial metrics. The cultural impact is curious. Owning an island grants social capital. Invitations to visit become currency. Weddings, product launches, and private performances staged on islands become social signals that amplify reputation. Photographers release curated images that feed magazines and social narratives. Those leaks are controlled to maintain mystique. Too much exposure undermines privacy till little erodes glamour. Owners calibrate leaks like campaigns. Consider the human infrastructure behind isolation. Staff live on the island in rotations like remote stations. Teams of gardeners, caretakers, and technicians respond to systems that range from desalination to wastewater treatment. Medical staff and emergency pilots are often on call, and evacuation plans are Logistics require project managers who coordinate supplies, deliveries, and seasonal events with precision. This living network makes the island feel like a small, self-sufficient city. Islands also affect nearby communities. They create jobs for boat operators, construction workers, and hospitality staff, and sometimes fund local clinics and schools. Yet critics point out that islands can also distort local economies by wages and creating dependence on a single patron. Responsible owners invest in long-term partnerships that share benefits beyond their gates. Security today is both physical and digital. Patrol boats, radar, and drones monitor approaches while cybersecurity teams defend private networks. Access logs, biometric systems, and secure communications ensure accountability. In some cases, owners coordinate with national authorities to align legal protections with practical enforcement, creating a layered shield that preserves privacy. The market has matured. Specialist brokers circulate confidential catalogs, and values vary with location, infrastructure, and jurisdiction. A raw island in a stable country may cost tens of millions, while a fully developed estate can reach hundreds of millions. Investors watch the class for rarity and prestige, but also for potential revenue through exclusive rentals or limited hospitality concepts. New ownership models are emerging. Fractional ownership lets groups share costs and perks without full transfer of title, and stewardship agreements bind owners to conservation goals. These approaches balance private use with public interest and suggest a future where access and preservation coexist. Culturally, islands become powerful symbols. They host private performances, art commissions, and summits that never appear in public schedules. Controlled leaks of images feed glossy magazines and maintain mystique. For storytellers, islands offer tangible metaphors about solitude, power, and legacy, making them irresistible subjects for films and essays. There are also stories of islands purchased for legacy. Families imagine estates that will remain in the clan for generations. They plan for succession, conservation, and for cultural institutions that tie the estate to philanthropic identity. Museums and foundations can be part of long-term plans, so that artworks or research facilities on the island serve public missions while maintaining private control. Visitors report a surreal quality. Imagine arriving at sunset, walking to cliffside tables with food that tastes like memory, and looking up at an uninterrupted starfield. The human scale shifts. Time feels softer in social hierarchies, momentarily reorder in the presence of curated privacy. Yet despite myth and luxury, the island remains a statement more than a residence for many owners. It is enough to own territory to be counted among those who possess not merely objects but geography. The island broadcasts a message about power, reach, and the capacity to command resources far beyond ordinary means. For journalists and creators, the island offers rich storytelling. Show the landscape, follow, logistics, reveal, maintenance, explain costs, and trace the human labor behind perfection. Viewers crave both spectacle and explanation. Archived documents, interviews with caretakers, and technical teams can transform romantic images into credible narratives that deepen audience trust. The truth is that islands reveal how modern wealth converts space into narrative. They return to a fundamental truth about power. Control over territory remains a profound signal of status even in a digital age. The sea that surrounds them makes access difficult and therefore precious. Territory that cannot be reached easily becomes symbolic and thus highly valued. An island does not have to be lived in daily to fulfill its role. It serves as a private monument, a silent crown that marks a person or a family as belonging to an inner circle. For the rest of us, these places remain fantasies glimpsed in glossy pages and fleeting footage. For their owners, they are practical tools of privacy, influence, and legacy. As long as the ocean keeps its secrets, private islands will sustain the imagination. They are modern myths where possession eclipses use and privacy becomes a currency more valuable than any view. Understanding them is understanding a dimension of power that maps and bank statements alone cannot fully capture.